What's going on, Dolphins fans? It's Connor from the Dolphins Dive. In today's video, we're going to be talking about the standouts of training camp so far. Now, we're about a week into training camp, so very early, but I'm going to talk about players who have shined so far in this past week. Football is officially back, and I'm so excited.
Whoa, let's go! Football! Let's go! Ah!
So before we hop into today's video, I'd appreciate it if you guys would just subscribe to the channel. Most of you guys aren't subscribed, so it would mean the world to me if you subscribed, if you enjoy the content. But without further ado, we're going to hop right into today's video, and we're going to go position by position on players I think that have standed out. Quarterback, I wouldn't say there's any guy really shining. I mean, Tua's looking good like usual. The other quarterbacks are also looking pretty good. Skyler looks like the front runner for quarterback too, but I wouldn't say anybody standing out going crazy. Tua's looking very good though. For running backs, everyone once again kind of looking solid. Raheem Mostert was in the orange jersey today, but the guy I've written down is Salvon Ahmed. He fits the scheme very well. He's looking fast, but I wouldn't say me just saying Ahmed doesn't mean the rest of the group isn't looking good. I think all of the guys have had moments. Savon's just a guy, I feel like he's not going to be a starting running back for us, but he's popped in the matter that I feel like you're confident with him making this roster. For receivers, once again, I don't have Jalen Waddle or Tyreek Hill. The bar set a little higher for those guys. They've obviously made plays, but a guy that's really stood out based off of the reports from the trustworthy guys I love, Travis Wingfield deserves all the credit in the world. He's the most reliable guy. Half those guys on the beat, with all due respect, don't know football. I don't care what they think they know. They don't. They're clowns in my opinion, but shout out to Travis. But the guy that's really stood out this training camp is Eric Ezukanma. He's really shined, making plays, running deep routes, and the big thing about Eric too is he's a different body size than the majority of this receiving core. A lot of them are smaller builds or slim speedsters, and Eric, who's also providing speed, is a built guy who can help in the run game, which is very important in this scheme. So I think Eric Ezukanma is making a legitimate push for wide receiver 3 with the amount of plays he's been making, and he's impressed tremendously. Now, a guy on the back end of the receiving core, who I think is still probably going to end up getting cut because of how loaded the core is, but he's been making plays pretty often, is Dawood Davis. He's making plays in OTAs, and it's carried over into training camp. It's such a deep room that he's going to struggle to make this roster, but he's a guy that deserves some love. Tight end, I wouldn't say anybody stood out entirely. I've seen Eric Saubert's name pop up, helping spring a couple runs. Durham Smythe had a couple catches, but the guy I've written down is Elijah Higgins. He made a couple good plays today, and he was looking quick, according to Omar Kelly, who I don't really enjoy, but if he mentioned that. But he mossed somebody today as well, so shout out to Elijah Higgins, see how he transcends in the scheme. His role is going to be a big slot receiver if he plays. I don't expect him to have much talent in terms of inline blocking. You just got to hope that's something that develops over the course of 1 to 2 years. That's kind of what happens with tight ends, to fully figure it out. And then 2 years in is kind of when you know if they have it or not. Obviously, it's a skill they need to continue to develop, but his main role, if he's able to carve out a role on the starting offense, would be as a big slot receiver. As for offensive line, it's too early to tell. First day of pads was today, but a name I saw that I was like, that's a good sign, is Dan Feeney. Wingfield mentioned how good he was doing in the one-on-one blocking. I feel like Dan Feeney is the guy who could potentially make a run for the starting left guard job. He's more of a center, but obviously Connor Williams is there, so but it's a good name to watch out for, potentially competing for that left guard job with Liam Eichenberg. For the defensive line, I mean, I didn't expect him, like I said, with like Tyreek and Waddle, the standards set for those guys. So like they've made plays, but I'm not going to note it. But this guy, we all know the name, but he's very notable. Christian Wilkins has been a menace this entire training camp.
The price is wrong, Billy. Oh, ref! 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 Ref!
I believe on Saturday the defense had like 12 sacks and Wilkins had like half of them. And I love Christian Wilkins. I think he's obviously a core component of this defense, but he's continued to gradually get better year in and year out. And we all want Wilkins to get paid. He's a great locker room guy. He's great against the run. In terms of the hesitancy, in my opinion, that I still want us to extend him. Don't get it confused. But the hesitancy was, if you're going to pay Wilkins $20 million, You need that pass rush productivity that I wouldn't say he lacks, but the numbers aren't there. And numbers don't mean everything. He's getting double teamed a lot. But it really seems like he's getting to that, and I'm not saying he's at Aaron Donald's level, but he's getting to that level of interior defensive line where now it's not just the run stops and getting the almost sacks. I feel like he's getting to that level where not only is he constantly in the backfield in the run game, but he's going to start consistently getting after the quarterback, which for interior defensive linemen is very difficult. But I feel like he's starting to get to that level where he's like a top 5 interior defensive line. It's seeming that way, in my opinion, based off this early training camp. And then another guy on the defensive line that I've seen his name pop a lot for a guy that is undrafted is Brandon Peely, nose tackle. I've heard his name mentioned multiple times, so he's a name to look out for, to potentially sneak in on the back end of this roster. So that's defensive line. For edge guys, I have almost the entire group written down. Jalen Phillips continues to look like a stud. Bradley Chubb gives a lot of confidence. Obviously, there was a lot of doubt after his half season with us. It's hard to join a new team and a new scheme and be able to put up production. So there's a little hesitancy, especially with the contract he got, but he's starting to look like, especially in the scheme he's comfortable with, he's starting to look like a top pass rusher for us. Cameron Good is a guy Mike McDaniel mentioned today, as well as Andrew Van Ginkel. I haven't seen their names pop much based off the reports, but if McDaniel mentioned you, he's took note of them. So very good to see from the edge group as well, to see that we're such a well-rounded group in the front 7. Linebacker, the name that stands out fully is David Long Jr. He was all over the field today in first day of padded practice. The Dolphins haven't had a linebacker like this in a long time, in my opinion, a guy who's truly fully well-rounded. Now, Jerome Baker's been good for us, but David Long just seems to be at a different level, in my opinion. He was all over the field today. You see everyone, including the top national media analysts who I respect, like guys like Brett Coleman, who are like, how did the Dolphins sign David Long Jr. to this cheap of a deal? I've seen it mentioned by multiple of those top guys. He's an absolute steal in free agency, and he looks like he's going to be the middle defender in this entire defense, and he's going to make plays week in, week out against the pass and against the run. So I'm very excited for David Long Jr. He's been standing out all of training camp. As for cornerbacks, players have stepped up with Jalen Ramsey going down. Most notably, Kader Kohu, who is in the orange jersey. He seems like a lock to be opposite side or in the slot with Xavier Howard. And rookie Cam Smith has definitely stepped up and lived to our second-round pick of him. He's been making plays. He made a lot of plays today, but he's been making plays all of training camp. So Cam Smith's looking to lock up that other starting corner job with Kader Kohu and Xavier Howard. So look out for that competition. Obviously, we have Nick Needham coming back from injury, Trill Williams coming back from injury, and we signed Eli Apple. So there's definitely good competition there, but Cam Smith's looking to be doing a very good job. As for safety, Javon Hollins looked good. Once again, kind of at a different standard than everyone else, thedolphinside.com, by the way. But the name I have written down is Elijah Campbell. He's flashed on defense, which is huge because he's known for his special teams. But the fact that he's also splashing on defense, I think he's going to make a great push to make this roster. I think he would probably made the roster already simply off of his special teams prowess, but the fact that he's also providing value on defense and can potentially fill part of the roles that's going to take to fill Jalen Ramsey's shoes, because it's not going to... Kyle Krabs of Locked On Dolphins said this, I want to give him credit, but I completely agree. Jalen Ramsey's role is not going to be filled by one guy. It's going to be filled by multiple players on defense. So if Elijah Campbell can be one of those people to help fill those roles, that'd be huge. And he's looking to have stepped up, and Mike McDaniel also mentioned him today. So those are my training camp standouts. Comment down below. Did I miss anyone? Who are you excited to see continue to grow during this training camp? I appreciate you guys for watching. It means so much to me. Check out the Dolphins Eye for dope Dolphins merch. And until next time, I'll catch y'all.